Before I get to the story today, I want to warn you guys about something. Whatever you do, do not, under any circumstances, look in the comment while this story is playing. Don't even think about it. If you do, then whatever happens, don't blame me. The last day of school was always the most exciting day at our school. All the teachers seemed like they were in a competition to see who could get their class dismissed the fastest, and we students, well, we had detention if we didn't behave. But otherwise, the day was pretty much whatever we wanted it to be. I was about to say the same thing when I saw a dark cloud pass over Derek's face, and then he disappeared down the hallway. We watched him go, and I asked Ashley, "What's his problem?" "Derek, are you in there?" Derek opened the door. "Bye." The only reply we got was silence. We tried the door, and it was locked. I pounded on it with my fist. "Derek, please let me in." When I heard a muffled voice inside say, "No, no, please," I screamed, "Help me." I remember Mrs. McCann kneeling beside Derek's body, sobbing. He held me for a moment before asking me a question that still haunts me to this day. He asked, "Do you think that Derek wanted you to join him?" I shook my head, but deep down I knew that he was right. Derek had asked me to join him, and I remember being dragged away by two burly security guards who did unseem to care that I was freaking out. They shoved me into a room, shut the door, and that's when I started to cry. I stared at him, confused and scared. Then Williams spoke again. "Derek Miller, here." Williams continued reading off the attendance sheet, and I could still hear Derek's voice whispering, "Here, here, here." The whispers echoed in my mind long after the school day had ended, and I'm still hearing them. I'm still hearing him, but wonder if maybe, just maybe, Derek wants me to join him, even now. Whenever I hear a door creak open or a floorboard upstairs, I turn my head to listen intently. Sometimes I even jump at the smallest, most innocent of sounds. The voice that replied was soft, almost a whisper, but it was definitely a voice from somewhere in the back of the classroom. Other students gathered around the bathroom door and began to pound on it with their fists. She shrugged again and told me that she didn't know. I could feel my skin crawling, but I kept my eyes locked onto him. Williams cleared his throat and said, "Derek Miller." My blood ran cold. Derek was dead, Williams repeated. "Derek Miller." And although his tone was monotone and emotionless, I could swear that I heard a hint of amusement in his voice. He had been murdered, but by who and why, no one knew. Williams' class was always the worst part of my day. He was the type of teacher who would stare at you while he called your name, and he did it in this monotone voice. It was like fingernails on a chalkboard. Some people believed that it was one of his brothers, but I didn't think that they were capable of something like that. I mean, they were jerks, but they weren't murderers. But then the mood completely changed. A new student had joined our group of friends during the summer before we started high school. As we were flipping through our textbooks, we could hear Mrs. McCann's class screaming in the hallway outside. I was hoping that once summer break started, I'd finally forget about the nightmare that had unfolded in the bathroom between Derek and me. Williams continued calling names until he got to the letter D. That's when he stopped and looked around the class. Then, all of a sudden, Ashley stood up from the table, her face pale. Within minutes, the bathroom door burst open, and we all gasped in unison. There was Derek standing in the stall, holding a rope in his hand, and blood was running down his arm. He had cut himself, but that wasn't what had us staring at him with wide eyes. What we were really looking at was the noose around his neck. It was made out of the janitor's cleaning supplies. But that wasn't the strangest part. Derek's face was pale white, like someone had drained all the color from it. His eyes were wide and terrified, and his mouth was hanging open, like he was screaming, but no sound was coming out. She whispered to me and Joey, "I think I just saw Derek hanging himself in the bathroom." We all stared at each other in disbelief. We knew that Derek was depressed, but we never thought that he would actually try to kill himself. His name was Derek, and he was really quiet. But for some reason, he suddenly piped up and said, "You guys, we should probably start doing our final exams review now. You know, Mrs. McCann's class was giving out review tests yesterday, and Mr. Williams was saying that we'd have a pop quiz tomorrow." P looked around at all of us and whispered, "It's not too late to join me." Before any of us could respond, he dropped to the ground and died in front of us. Everyone screamed and ran away, but I couldn't move. My feet were rooted to the spot, and I was staring at Derek's dead body on the ground. As soon as the morning bell rang, my friends and I started counting down the hours until we would be free for the summer. That year, I must have been around 14 years old, and I was having a great time, screwing around with my best friends, Joey and Ashley, in Mr. Williams' physics class. We were passing notes back and forth, and Ashley had written a little poem about Mr. Williams, which Joey and I both found quite funny. It went something like, "Mr. Williams sucks. He smells like milk and cheese. He beats us every day with his wooden yardstick." Ashley had written that last line backwards, so when Mr. Williams snatched the paper out of Joey's hand and read it, he wouldn't know what she meant. He just gave Joey a weird look and sent him to the principal's office. By lunchtime, all three of us were back together again, laughing about how stupid Mr. Williams was. I was taken aback by Derek's sudden outburst, because he was usually so laid back and carefree. It was like someone had punched him in the gut and suddenly made him serious. I knew that Derek had a troubled home life. He had 2 older brothers that apparently treated him like a punching bag. So it wasn't surprising to me that he didn't want to fall behind in his classes. But why was he suddenly trying to motivate us? It didn't make sense. Ashley shrugged and said, "Nah, let's just have fun. We've got nothing to worry about." After lunch, all 3 of us went to the library to study for our final exams. We rushed to the bathroom, pushing through the crowds of students. And Joey started pounding on the door. Mrs. McCann ran over, her face worried. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. So she called for security. Then the most terrifying thing happened. I don't know how long I stood there because everything went numb after that. When my parents arrived to pick me up, I threw myself into my dad's arms and told him what had happened. Over the next few weeks, there were rumors spreading around school that Derek hadn't killed himself at all. Bid Then one day I was sitting at my desk in Mr. Williams' physics class, and Williams was taking attendance. All the students in the class were daydreaming, and I was thinking about how much I hated Mr. Williams. He scanned over all of the students, and his eyes lingered on me for a beat too long. Everyone in the class remained silent. Nobody dared to speak. Williams waited, and it felt like an eternity. I turned slowly and looked towards the back of the class. Empty desk. No one was sitting in that desk. I don't know how else to explain it. It was like 1,000 tiny needles had been jabbed into my brain. And no matter how many times I tell myself that it's just my imagination, I can't help. As the last of my classmates filed out of room 203, I heard my phone buzz on the table beside me. I didn't have my earbuds, so I pulled the tiny white rectangle out of my pocket and pressed play. She also gave me an ominous warning. Be careful what you wish for. I had no idea what she meant. I chalked it up to her bizarre, often inappropriate metaphors and went to work on my assignments. It took all period 2, which was Mr. Williams' class, to get through just the math homework. When I finally forced myself to leave the bathroom, I saw a group of students standing by the lockers at the end of the hall, staring at something. I knew it wasn't my imagination. I'd experienced it before, many years ago. Textbooks would fall off the shelves and doors would slam shut. Once I even saw a shadowy figure running down the south hallway. When I told my parents about it, they just rolled their eyes and sighed. We can get some real work done, it read. Below that was Jason's smiley face drawing. A chill went down my spine. Who else would have access to my private thought? I was about to ask my parents if they knew anything when a loud crash from upstairs made me jump. My dad grabbed a baseball bat from the rack and headed toward the noise, with me close behind him. There's nothing in that old school that could hurt you, my dad would say, but I knew better. The pot was smashed and dirt was everywhere. My dad's face was pale and set in a grim line. Instead, they kept waving and smiling, beckoning me to come join them. I didn't have my earbuds, so I pulled the tiny white rectangle out of my pocket and pressed play. The grainy, black and white video showed my still sitting at my desk in room 203. But something was wrong. And how was it filmed without me knowing? I wanted to, but something inside me screamed, no, don't trust them. Tall and gaunt with skin like stretched parchment, it glided closer, revealing a face of disturbing beauty. As I reached out to touch her, the world dissolved into darkness. Long, flowing, hair-framed eyes that shone like molten gold. Who are you? I whispered, taking a step back. Pa also hit the bell icon, so you never miss a new story. And if you dare, stay tuned for more terrifying tales. Until next time, happy haunting. Who am I? She echoed, her voice like velvet. I am the one who has been watching you. I am the one who has been calling to you. She took another step closer and I could see the sharp glint of fangs beneath her full lips. I am the one who wants to help you. All I know is that I felt something brush against my leg. Something cold, scaly and wet. Then I heard a whisper right in my ear. Don't trust them, it is. They won't keep you safe. I will. Suddenly, I was in the bathroom stall again, and this time I could hear the monster moving closer. "Run," it hissed. "Don't trust them. Run." I woke up in a cold sweat, gasping for breath. The video ended there. Don't trust anyone. Then I heard a voice in my head that sounded like my dad's, yet wasn't. "They'll protect you," it said. Also hit the bell icon, so you never miss a new release. And now back to this story. I tried to make myself believe it was just a dream, but the nightmare bled into my waking hour. Everywhere I went, I saw shadowy figures lurking in the corners of my vision. Every time I turned around, I expected to see Jason Carter's creepy smile. But most of all, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me, waiting for me to let my guard down. "They'll keep you safe. Just let them in, and you'll be one of us." I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, I was no longer in the attic. I was back in Mrs. Hayes' classroom, the one where it all began. The bell had just rung, and my classmates were lining up to leave. Something evil had taken root there, and it was spreading. I could feel its presence like a physical thing pressing against the windows of our car. I knew whatever it was wouldn't rest until we were gone. "I think it's time you and your mother leave town," he said quietly. The scratching sound came again, followed by a raspy voice that seemed to slither through the wall. "Let me in," it rasped. "Let me in, and I'll show you the truth." Curiosity overwhelmed me. I placed my hand on the door handle and stepped inside. Before I could respond, he scooped me up in the tightest hug ever and carried me downstairs. Back when I was in second grade, I'd woken up in the middle of the night to find my little brother cowering in the corner of my closet, eyes wide with terror. When I asked him what was wrong, he told me he'd seen a monster with long fingers and sharp teeth. When I went to water my mum's African violets, I noticed the new pots were heavier than the old ones. I picked one up and turned it over in my hand. That's when I saw the engraving on the bottom. He read, "To my sweet little monster, love, Mom and Dad." And beneath that, scrawled in my dad's handwriting, were the words, "Don't ever tell him." What was he hiding? What was he hiding from me? He'd been having nightmares about it for weeks, and one night it must have crawled out to the closet. Inside were stacks of yellowed newspaper clippings detailing gruesome murders and disappearances, and at the very bottom I found a dusty photo album filled with pictures of me as a kid. But these weren't normal family photos. No, in each picture I was surrounded by the same group of people. They were always smiling and waving for the camera. I never knew them. Then I turned the page and saw the faces of my own parents staring back at me. Their smiles were too wide, and their eyes gleamed with a strange light. They weren't my parents. They never had been. I'd laughed and hugged him until he fell back asleep, telling him there was nothing in there but my clothes and my collection of rocks. But now I wasn't so sure. I walked over and they all turned to look at me. "What did you see?" I whispered. One of them shook his head. "Nothing." "Never mind," he said. "Sorry, man. Must have just been some, stupid freshman." I nodded slowly. trying to convince myself that it was all in my head. So I decided to stay late and finish in room 203. The grainy black and white video showed my stills sitting at my desk in room 203, but something was wrong. It was filmed from just outside the door. How had this been sent to me? And how was it filmed without me knowing? He was one of those kids who always seemed to be around. Popular, but not in a good way, if you know what I mean. He was always laughing and joking, even when he shouldn't be. There was something fake about him. Like he put on a persona to hide his true self. Jason gave me a creepy smile and leaned in close. "You haven't changed," he whispered. "Gah, you're still scared of the dark, aren't you?" I wanted to punch him in the gut, but he backed away just out of reach and kept smiling. "Why don't you join me tonight?" he asked. Mrs. Hayes gave me permission to stay late and clean out the supply closet. We can get some real work done. I knew he was trying to scare me, so I just rolled my eyes and walked away. I'd been homesick from school for 3 days, and when I'd gotten back, Mrs. Hayes had given me a stack of assignments I needed to catch up on. It wasn't that big of a deal. I'd done it before. And besides, Mrs. Hayes' classroom was the safest place in the whole school, or at least it used to be. You know, like high school boys will do. But then the voices started getting louder, and after a while I could make out what they were saying. "He's right here. Hurry up," they hissed. "Behind you, he's coming." Pooh, my blood ran cold and I wanted to run, but my feet felt heavy, like they were filled with lead. I couldn't move. Then I heard shuffling footsteps and the scraping of a metal cart. My heart began to pound. Or was someone coming to kill me? Why? I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Room 203 was located at the end of the south hallway, behind the library and next to the janitor's closet. If you were walking down the hallway and needed to use the bathroom, it was the perfect place to hide and wait until things died down. I'd never seen anyone go in there on purpose, but one day during lunch, I found myself hiding in the bathroom stall next to it. That's when I started hearing the whisper. They were coming from inside the janitor's closet. At first, I thought it was just some kids being jerks, and then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything went silent. But that night in bed, I heard scratching sounds and whispering voices. Over the next few days, strange things kept happening around me. Then one day, while walking through the crowded school, I bumped right into Jason Carr. But that afternoon, when I got home from school, I found a note waiting for me on the kitchen table. When we reached the top of the stairs, we saw that my mom's prized African violets had fallen off the windowsill and shattered on the floor. As we drove away, I looked back at the house we'd lived in for almost 10 years. Fast forward a year, and I'd forgotten all about the incident until I moved back home from college. The house was different somehow. That's when I found the box in the attic. When I called out to them, they didn't turn around. As the last of them filed out of the room, I heard my phone buzz on the table beside me. I don't remember much after that. If you're enjoying my stories, please subscribe and stay tuned for more. One evening, while walking home from the library, I passed by room 203. I hesitated, unsure of what to do next. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw a figure emerge from the shadow. She extended a hand toward me. Her touch sending shivers down my spine. "Help me," she whispered. "Help me break free from this prison." Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this spooky tale, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Yeah, this happened to me one night about 2 years ago, when I was still in high school. I was walking home from school because my mom was out of town visiting her parents. About 5 minutes later, I turned to look back at the school and I saw the same bus I got off of coming towards me. Now, I thought, oh no, maybe they're gonna run me over or something. Bye. Then I realized there weren't any students on the bus, which was odd because it's a school bus. And this time, I was seriously scared. I thought, what if this bus hits me? I stopped walking and I turned around to look back, but there was nothing behind me. But then I heard what sounded like a whisper, and I turned around again and I swear I saw the shadow of a woman standing on the other side of the road. But when I tried looking again, I couldn't see anything. And then I thought, okay, I'm just letting my imagination get the better of me. There's no way there's actually a ghost here, or someone trying to scare me. Bet. Then as I got closer, I noticed that they spelled out SOS, and I thought, well, that's pretty freaky. I don't know if you've ever seen those videos where people go out to abandoned asylums, and they shine a flashlight in the window, and they spell out messages to ghosts or something. Well, I did the same thing, and I spelled out SOS, and I swear to God, within seconds, I felt a cold breeze on my neck. But then the shadow appeared again, and I thought, no, there's definitely something here. So I just started walking faster. Yeah, it's pretty freaky. If you ask me, I think maybe there was a ghost on the bus or something. But I don't know. I just thought I'd share this with you guys because it is something that has been keeping me up at night for the past 2 years. Thanks for listening. What if someone's inside trying to kill me? What if this is the wrong bus? They were getting louder. I could feel the air around me growing colder. And this went on for a few minutes. I don't know how long exactly. Time seemed to have stopped. And then suddenly the whispers stopped. I turned around to see if whatever was following me was still there, but it was gone. All sorts of thoughts ran through my head. And as I'm walking, I'm looking around and I notice that there are no cars on the road, which was weird. But then, right as I turned onto my street, I saw the same bus. It was parked in front of my house. I thought, oh God, what now? I didn't dare open the door to check. I was too scared. I thought, maybe I should call the police. But who am I gonna tell my parents? No, they wouldn't believe me. I thought, no, I'll just wait until morning and then I'll tell my parents. So I walked around the block, called my dad, and he let me stay at his parents' house for the night. Because normally there are tons of cars, but today there wasn't a single car. At this point it was light out, and there were cars on the roads, and I thought, well, this is stupid. There's no way a bus would have been here last night. Bye. But I walked over and I looked through the window to see if there was anyone inside or anything, and there was nothing. It was an empty bus. I checked the sides to see if there were any signs of anyone being inside, and there was nothing. I was completely confused. I thought, how could a bus have been here last night? But I figured that maybe I was just making things up in my head. And this made me think that maybe I was in some sort of danger. Because if no one was on the roads, then what if something bad was happening? Pass. And also, it was past 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I thought, well, why would a bus be out this late? Then I kept walking, but the bus followed me for another block. So I looked back again, and I saw the same bus heading towards me again. But this time, it was getting closer. Like I said, I live about a 20-minute walk from the school. So by this point, I was about 10 minutes into my walk. I thought, oh, maybe they didn't see me and they're going back to park or something. So I just keep walking. I live about a 20-minute walk away from the school. So I continued walking. She usually picked me up, but since she was out of town, I had to walk home alone. And it was fine. It was a nice day, so I just decided to walk. So I figured maybe I should get on the bus. Maybe they can help me or something. But when I got to the bus, I tried opening the door, and it wouldn't open. I tried it again, and then I looked around and realized all of the other buses were out. Like every single school bus that our school has was parked along the curb with their hazard lights on. And now I thought, oh wow, this is actually kind of creepy. So I just kept walking. Well, turns out it was a mistake. I don't know if this has ever happened to anyone else before. But I got off the bus, grabbed my stuff, and started walking home. About 3 minutes later, I turned around again to look back, and I saw the same bus coming towards me. So I thought, wow, they really must want me to get on this bus. It's been following me this whole time. After a few more minutes, I saw the same bus coming towards me again. And right at this moment, I felt something brush against my leg. And I swear to God, it was the creepiest feeling ever. The scarier part was that the bus was still behind me. I could still hear the whispers. At this point, I was terrified. I wanted to run home as fast as possible. But the next morning I got up early and I was still a little scared. So I walked back out to where the bus was parked. But then I started to notice some weird scratches on the side of the bus, and I thought, weird, how did these get here? And I was so freaked out that I ran home, and I haven't been back to that area since.